Okay, so this is our Red Review program meeting. Red program number 144, which corresponds to Vuelta 17 of 2025. Today is the last day of the lap. I don't know, I feel like since lap 15, right after we finished the going through the black spaces of the table, everything started to become very dynamic. I mean, the whole year has been, but in a different way, because for me, I felt like I've been having a little bit more clarity. So remember that from lap 15 to lap 22, we're going to be going through the columns the new way that Alejandra presented, right? Like in a vertical way, not horizontally. So it is interesting to see that routing of the table, because it begins horizontally and then it ends vertically, right? So it is
Yeah.
like a really interesting, like a matrix, right?
Yeah.
Like the routing is like
Yeah.
a matrix, like that. So it is really interesting to see, even though we are not probably able to understand it fully, of course not. It's going to take us a long time to actually understand it, comprehend it, but it's really cool to just be there and witness how things get organized and how they are so convergent. So today's solar day is 739,525. Last day of lap 17. We know that lap 17 is the 6th lap of the other. And in this program, she said, it has to do with how the other is tied or subjected to the collective memory, right? Because we know that 6 has to do with the memory. So how the other is subjected or connected. She says in Spanish the word sujeto, which is to hold on to, right? To the collective memory. So that is very important, of course, because depending on how each person has that connection to the collective memory, that's the way that that person is going to be having that interpretation of that totality. Remember, each one of us has a specific interpretation of totality. And the way that we are connected to the collective memory, of course, is going to have an influence on that, but that influence is related to the third dimension, because the only thing that has a memory is the third dimension. Everything else doesn't. So of course, there's going to be parts of us that are going to have that observation, the flow of signals and everything that's new. That's not going to have anything to do with our memory, right? Because that's all going to be new. But when we're talking about the third dimension, the collective memory, the unified field, that's where we're talking about. That's what Alejandra's talking about when she talks about that specifically. So she begins the program very positive. Like, it was a very positive beginning, and I was so happy to hear it, because I don't know, how did you guys receive the news about Nepal? How did you guys receive it, or how did you guys find out?
I saw it in the 7011 group.
Yeah. And how did you feel about it?
Yeah, very interesting, because uh, they made mess, and they within 1 or 2 days they did it themselves, and that was
They
really good.
cleaned it up.
Yeah, they cleaned it up. Yeah, interesting. And where I at the university work, there's also the Generation Z, they call it. It's
Mm-hmm.
very common.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how they call them everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. I
And you
didn't know. I thought
think,
it was something we invented, but it was not.
yeah.
Yes, I did not hear anything about it. So it was
Oh,
something
okay.
for me. I think over here it's also not on the news or stuff. So I don't know, except for
Mm-hmm.
what you explained. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, I asked because for me it was a big deal, because I was just hanging out with some friends at night, and then my Francisco my partner, he sent me this video. I don't know if you guys saw that one. It's a speech that a Nepalese student gave. And it became very viral. It was amazing. And when I opened that speech and I started to hear what was going on in Nepal, just something clicked. It was like something clicked, something very powerful clicked. I perceived, like, I didn't know what was going on, but I just saw that and I was like, oh my God, something really big is happening. Because we know that, like, I don't know, like what's happening in Gaza or what's happening in other places, right? It is it is a very big impact. But this situation in Nepal wasn't a conflict, it was an activation. I did not perceive it as a problem or as a threat or as something bad. I perceived it as amazing news. Like, I was just so thrilled and so excited and so happy. And I was talking to Francisco and we were just all like, oh my God, what is happening? This is so exciting. I was just so excited. And then when Alejandra opened the program in this way, I was like, wow, she's so happy about it. She's saying that this is great news because we are before an update of the solar code. So it is amazing. I think it is amazing. So she began saying that, of course, it is humanly not desirable to go through a situation where we have deaths, where we have violence or destruction, right? But really, it was really contained. It was not very many people were hurt. Some people did pass away, unfortunately, but like it was a really amazing activation. But she says that this happens because when we're talking about society, right? When we're talking about an action that has to do with the scale of society, we're going to be seeing a margin of error that is very broad because they have the largest license for the symbolic scale, like for interpreting, they don't have much other choices than to say whether I like it or I don't like it, and they are going to act from there. So this is where she says that the expression of the limitation will not be elegant, of course, because they don't have access to those other scales that are going to provide with anticipation of the signals, pre-processing of the signals, so that the expression of the things that are going to be turned into experiences are elegant. No, because they don't have that, right? But at the same time, it is happening, like it is reaching the solar code, and everything that we have been working on has reached the level of the scale of society. So for me, I just think this is like really great, amazing news. And this is just the beginning, because it's good. It has begun to activate all the other, like many other Gen Zs in Asia. Like they have, I think Thailand began, Japan, other countries in Asia are something similar is happening. I saw something happen in Cuba. I don't know if that was fake news, I didn't check. But I think in Cuba, people were also like manifesting, which is, so I just think it's really exciting to see. And of course, we have Nepal's ionosphere configuration, right? Because we know that the telephonic code is the way that that country represents a function at a global level in relation to the ionosphere, right? Like a function. So that function is 977, and it has to do with the update of the consciousness. Or, as Alejandra explained here, orbital 7 is being updated by orbital 9. So then she says, yeah, Pluto is not considered a planet because it didn't have a clean orbit. So what does that mean, that it doesn't have a clean orbit? It had a lot of influences, cosmic influences. We're talking about the 9th orbital, subatomic scale, if we're talking about the solar code. So our solar code was infected by influences that were cosmic, that altered the subatomic scale. Because that scale was not defined. That's why Pluto was not being considered a planet. So the fact that the ninth orbital is not clean is a proof that our solar system still has these vulnerabilities. I mean, we have worked a lot in the antimatter with the code, and well, I'm saying we because as a community, when it's mainly, of course, Ale. But I think from what Alejandra is saying and from what I can personally sense in the flow of signals, I just feel really excited because I just think that things are going quite well. Okay, so when the code of the ionosphere the code that the ionosphere is reproducing is 977, we're talking about the capacity of the ninth orbital to place limits to 7. Now she starts to talk, of course, about Russia and why Russia, when Russia tries to invade a country, it does so and it moves towards Europe and not towards Asia, because Asia has higher frequential codes, right? Asia has 8, 9 codes, when Europe has lower than 7. So Russia knows that what it can conquer has to be frequentially lower than 7. But what 977 is doing is placing limits on 7, right? But instead of this happening at a political scale, no, it's happening at a social scale, which is really great. And the specific generation that picks up this signal, this particular activation of what happened in Nepal, it is a specific generation, right? She says, Alejandra, it's not just any generation that picks up the signal. It is the 500, the ones that are born in the 500 apparatus, the ones that pick up that digital era signal. So in their collective, they share an occurrence and they are modulating, they are pulling on that occurrence, right? And that occurrence, what that they shared was, we need to put a limit. We need to show that we are here and that we can set a boundary on this because, it's enough. And then they went out, they went out and destroyed, and then they went out and fixed everything. I was just so amazed by this. I just thought it was so
And very
exciting.
quick after it, eh? Not
Like
very
48
quick.
hours,
Yeah,
48
yeah.
hours.
Yeah, that
Wow.
was amazing. I had to look it up in English videos because all was Spanish. I cannot understand. There was not a lot on the news about it. Not much. You
Not
have to
much on the
search.
news, but on social media.
Yeah,
TikTok was,
yeah.
TikTok for me is my news source and everything
yeah.
that is going on, because my friend asked me, "Oh, what's your news source?" I don't have one news source. TikTok is my news source, and everything that's going on in the world, like people talk about it, different people start to talk about it. So it is really cool because we have different perspectives, right? Of different people talking about it. So that's how I get my news. So yeah, so what else?
I want to expand on the below, if the past is below.
Oh, that part was so confusing. Oh,
Yeah.
oh no, that was so bad, so bad. Okay. I think that I was really angry at Alejandra because, yeah, because I was just like, you should have just, she confused it. It was so confusing for me. But I did get it. Okay. So, when we're talking about, okay, she made a differentiation between the container and the person, right? The particular consciousness. When we're talking about the person, the past is going to be under, right? Because it is the anchor. It is the memories that allow us to to have a past so that we can stand on it, right?
And build on it. Eh?
And build on it, yeah, when we are receiving the flow of signals of everything
Yeah.
that's new, right? But this is in the present. So when we're talking from the perspective of the person, the past is going to be under and the future is going to be up, okay? The confusion was when she said the future is under. When she said that, she was talking from the perspective of the container, not from the perspective of the person. From the perspective of the container, the future needs to be pre-programmed in the collective memory.
Mm.
Why? Because we're talking about the third dimension, and the third dimension is something that is pre-programmed. So though that destiny, that collective destiny, has to be pre-arranged. So that's what the confusion was. So, and Alejandra just went on and on and on, but I don't think it was enough. Like it wasn't necessary to, because it didn't. I had to go through that like so many times to get it, and I don't think it was clear for people. But in essence, that is basically it. You know, from the perspective of the container, the future has to be pre-programmed. But from the perspective of the person, no. From the perspective of the person, because we are antennas, the past is under and the future is up because we are, if of course, the neutral observer is activated, then the space-temporal consciousness is constructed, of course. If not, then the person is going to be just completely tied to the collective destiny, right? The collective memory, and their octave is going to be managed by the container. It's not going to be particularly managed like we are learning to do. In our case, we are learning to manage our octaves particularly and not being dragged by the container because we are just not here for an experience, right? If we're resonating with LGC, it's obvious that we are not just here for an experience. We are here because we are interested in the architecture of the container. We are interested in the solar consciousness, etc. Right? So that's gonna be the difference. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is left and right now? Is it hydrogen and helium, or is that soul and soul?
Well, it depends because if we're talking about the table, that's going to be one thing. But when we're talking
Yeah.
about the table, we're talking about the structure itself, like the matrix for materialization of everything that the solar consciousness codifies. That's
Yeah,
the
but
periodic table.
in the musical notes, they had also helium and hydrogen.
Oh
Eh?
yeah, she connected. That's true.
Yeah.
The musical notes diagram, we're talking about psychic structure. And the psychic
Yeah.
structure has to do with the flow of signals, right? And the management of the octave.
Yeah.
So I don't think I could like say how or why Alejandra connected that to the periodic table, you know? It just makes sense to me right now, but I can't be like or say
Specific.
how the function, because the only thing we could say is that, okay, when we're talking about helium, we're talking about the administration of the octave, and that's in the right. When we're talking about the right, we're always going to be talking about a regulation, something that's going to tend to regulate the left. And when we're talking about the left, it's usually the reactives because it's something that happened in the past, and it's something that we have been learning to do to neutralize our reactives and try to process, because we have now a concept of our processor, right? Our 353. So if we have exercised our processor, we are pre-processing signals. So we're not allowing those signals to just have a direct impact into our reactives. That would be like of course, the function of the present. But if we're talking about the left, it's usually going to be past. It's usually going to be the reactives. That's why in the table we have these reactive elements. And when we're talking about the right, we're talking about elements that are the noble gases, and they are in pink. It is like the promises, right? But the right tends to regulate. It's going to try to, the signals, right? To regulate the reactives from the past so that we don't burst into flames, into destruction. And of course, we do that through the present, through the reaxis, through the construction of concepts and our space-temporal consciousness and our ability to exercise our processor, the flow of signals, the management of our octave, you know, the reasoning of how I reason, how I interpret the things that happen to me, and what interpretation I am applying to those things. So, it's all these factors. Okay, is that better?
Yeah, better.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. So, going back to the Nepal situation, Alice says that it is not that all of the Gen Z activated all at once in the whole globe. No, it was specifically 977. So Alice, like, ladies and gentlemen, we are before a solar code update. Like, this is a really big deal. Here she talks about what we said about Russia, Russia trying to dominate things that are frequentially lower because it knows that it can dominate Asia. What is Asia, right? If we see ASIA, the center, SI, we're talking about the role of the architect. So she's saying that Asia is the field of the architects operating in the context. It's so funny. Let me tell you something that happened to me, you guys. I got into reading literature for a while now. I don't know, like 2 years I started reading again, because when I started with LGC, I wasn't studying anything. I wasn't reading anything. And then I picked up on literature, classic literature. I really like it. So I went to this library and I was picking up a book. And then there was this basket of, books that were on sale that nobody was buying. And it was like $1, like for $1. And the girl was like, oh, we have some books there. So I just looked and they had a book from George Orwell, right? So I was like, oh yeah, let's see. I didn't know the book. It's called Burmese Days, right? I didn't know anything about the book. So I got it. It was $1 and I finished the other book that I was reading and I started reading Burmese Days. Burm? I don't know if it's called Burm in English. It's an Asian country. And that I like, I don't know why that happened. I'm reading a book on the culture of Burm or Burmese culture, Asian culture, and how the Europeans colonized it and all of that. But like the book is about Asia. Oh my God. And this whole thing is so crazy. It's so crazy. Okay, just something that happened. But okay, Asia is the field of the architects operating in the context, right? What else? That it wasn't planned, that it was really spontaneous. Okay, and then she finds out that Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, and I actually, there's this confusion about the fat Buddha. The fat Buddha is a Chinese, it's a different person, it's not the same. Siddhartha Gautama is this Nepalese, he was how do you call it? The people that just renounce everything material. ¿Qué madre? Ahí están en el mismo llavero. Y está abierta la troca, no la cerré. Pero las llaves están ahí mismo, en las del Kicks. ¿No la vas a usar? No. Bueno, sí, déjame las llaves. Sorry. Let me find that word. Asceta. That's the word in Spanish. Asceta. So Siddhartha Gautama was a prince. And he grew up protected, like his father protected him from the world. So the first time he left the palace, he was like, what? So he renounced everything and he went through a civil life and he renounced everything. I said that is those people that just renounce to everything material, right? So he became that. So Ale says that Siddhartha Gautama, it was the architect. Well, he was the because when we're talking about space temporal structures, we're always going to be dealing with the calendar, right? So Siddhartha's death is going to be the precedent for our actual Julian Gregorian calendar. So that's why Alejandra went to the year of his death, and she was like the day of his death, because we don't know exactly when he died, but we do know the year. So the year is important, and she says that she is testing the year because we're talking about when we're talking about solar, we're dealing with solar code. We don't actually need a date, a specific date, because we're testing the solar code, and that is something that is annual. But what she did do is she went and looked for the solar day of day 118 in that year. 118, we know that has to do with the social octave, right? And because Siddhartha Gautama was the architect of the negative of the symbolic scale, she's saying that what happened in Nepal has to do with that architect, Siddhartha Gautama, finishing his task. Wow. Wow. I was mind blown. Wow. And also what happened in lab 16, I think, with Alcides Carrion, she said the same thing. She said Alcides Carrion finishing his task as an architect. Solar consciousness. Oh my God. It's just so amazing to see.
Yeah, that was great indeed.
So crazy. It's unbelievable. It never ceases to amaze, honestly. Let me close the door. Hold on. It's just so many convergences, you know? I feel like so many synchronicities. Another thing that Ale said in this program was that socially we tended to be divergent. Like the tendency was to be divergent with each other. And now the tendency is to be convergent. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. I was saying to Nienke before you got in that I've been very just talking to a lot of people, been very much in the social scale, inserting myself, reinserting myself into the social scale. And I have noticed so many convergences, so many synchronicities that I'm just really amazed. But I am understanding that it's not magic. You know, I am understanding that it is the updated solar code being executed. That's why I just feel so excited. So excited. Okay. So this architect is finishing his task of writing the negative of the symbolic scale, right? And he renounced his condition as a prince. What does that mean? What does that mean? Because being a prince is of a fourth plane nature, right? So he renounced to that and he chose to have a civil life, like from the base. What does that mean? What is that inscribing? Is Ale the word? The word Ale used was, what is that inscribing? Because he is the architect of the negative of the symbolic scale, right? What is that inscribing? That the architects are going to be in charge of the architecture, which means that we are going to appear in the unified field as civil architecture. So I can say in my own experience that is exact. Like when I read that, I was just like, wow. Like I just feel like that is exactly what is happening. Exactly what is happening. And if we have done our work in the LGC, if we have had our formation as it should have been, I think in this moment, we are being reinserted in the unified field as civil architecture. It's so elegant, so elegant. Okay, so what Siddhartha Gautama did was that I'm going to go to the basic, I'm going to through all the scales of the basic, and from there, the balance is going to be executed. So that's why she takes that year as reference, okay? Then she connects that day, which is 28th of April of 483 before the Christ, and she connects it to the 7th of October of 2025, right? So she is anchored there in this date because she takes Siddhartha Gautama's death as a precedent of our actual calendar. Okay. Then we have the 7th of October of 2025. We have solar day 739533. And that is day 280 of the year. So from day 118 of the year of Siddhartha Gautama's death until the 7th of October of 2025, we have 563,365 days. So we have 365, but we also have 55,366,33, meaning that 33 is in the center, then we have 66, and everything is being hugged by 55, which means that the collective memory unit is being administrated, and it's going to be consumed from the third orbital. Okay, that's the reading of that.
Is that your birthday or you're from the 8th? The 8th, eh?
No, I'm from the 8th, yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
One day before my birthday.
Yeah, one day before, yeah.
That was Edith Kimchi's day of birth.
Ah,
And she died. Did you know, Nienke, that
Yeah.
Edith Kimchi died?
yeah, I saw it in the.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, she
I-
passed
I-
away.
It's also Joris's birthday, the 7th of October.
Oh! Oh, that's right. Yeah, unfortunately, Edith Kim, she passed away. She struggled with cancer for
Yeah.
a long time, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Ale would be really sad about that. I
Yeah.
never knew
When-
her, but
When did she die?
I think it
The
was
19th, I guess. I guess
19th?
19th. Yeah.
10 days ago.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Mm-mm-mm. And then in the LGC calendar, we have 35779. On that day, it's also we have the code of Nepal on the total
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the LGC calendar, which
Yeah,
is, I mean,
So,
wow.
wow.
And then we have 577. Remember that Alex explained that
Yeah, with all the 5, 7. Yeah.
yeah, 577, 5777. That means that there is an architect of the consciousness that is being projected socially.
Mm.
And in the middle, there is no spiritual leader, no religious, no politician, no military, nothing. Just basic social scale directly. I think that's elegant. And that's why Alice says, like, yeah, maybe when we look at it, of course, in the social scale, we don't think it's as elegant, but it really is really elegant. Like, it could be a lot worse, I think. Okay, so what is lap 18? Because the 7th of October is the 8th day of lap 18. What is lap 18? Including the lap 7 of the other, the value of the other that is not me. Like in my case, I'm really good at that. I'm really good at seeing the value of others. natively, of course. I am native from Lab 18. How about you, Gabby?
Yeah, I
feel-
can also see the value, but I see also a lot of things which are wrong in somebody.
Yeah, of course. Yes, yes, yes.
Mm.
But for me, I like, it's easier for me to see the things that are right. But my position is in the end all cardinality. Your position is
Yeah.
in SE.
Yeah, it's an SE. Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, yeah. So you probably have a different eye there.
Yeah,
Different. Yeah.
that's very true.
Okay, so why are these 10 days stolen, specifically on Lab 18? Because we're talking about the control of the consciousness of the other. Labs, the seventh lap of the other, right? And that is the infection that our solar code has. Now we are on an update of that because everything in the antimatter has been seen, right? And repaired with this Andromedian instruction and LGC, everything that the sun needed, well, it needed to define itself at a subatomic scale, and it needed to repair all these faults in its code. So now imagine if it's like you have a program that you work with in your job, and it just really doesn't work. It fails all the time, and it makes your job really difficult to do, and you're just trying to make things work, but it's really hard. And you've been like that for 20 years. And then this new person, this new tech guy that just graduated comes and he's like, "Oh, I think your code is has a lot of bugs and stuff. Like, let's fix it." And then they fix that, and you are working and you're like, "Oh my God, this is like marvelous. Everything is so easy and it works perfectly." I feel like that is what's happening. So
Wow.
really cool. The
Here
code
is not,
has been fixed.
my ear is not yet so seenable in others, but slow. It's not like where you
Sorry, I
are
didn't.
that you can see and feel it in others. It's not here. It's not what I see, but
You don't
it's
see it.
more. There's a lot of reactive still.
I mean, maybe it's not like because the changes are very subtle.
Yeah.
They're not like, maybe we have like really high expectations that changes need to be like really big, but like the changes that I can see are very subtle. But I can see that everyone around me is updating.
Yeah, that's true. A very small part, but they are updating.
Not as much as we would like, of course.
And what I notice is only the people who are stuck in the emotional, they are not updating at all.
Yes,
They
that's
get stuck.
exactly. There's some
They get
people
stuck.
that are having more trouble with the update. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, because of the higher level of resistance in the case of Edith Kimchi, because Edith Kimchi, in the end, she had a lot of resistance with LGC.
Ah,
And Ale she tried really hard to to keep her on board, of course, because she was very important in the antimatter infrastructure. And yeah, she didn't. Okay. So, okay, the control of the consciousness of the others. That's why Lab 18 was interfered like that. But okay, the code has been updated and things are being executed. So 2012. If your primordial connection is with the collective memory, you're never gonna be able to read 2012. She says, yeah, if you're connected to the collective memory, 2012 is the end because it has to do with the external source. If you looked at it horizontally, that's how they're gonna see it, because 2012 it's not something that is going to be found in the collective memory. It's going to be found in the solar code. So because the external source is cleaned, gets cleaned, because Sol begins to regulate it. The external source begins to be regulated. It is not just, open gates to anything that wants to come in. No, there's going to be filters, there's going to be regulations, there's going to be, all these things. And from now on, like, this is really exciting to hear, of course, that not just any occurrence that wants to project itself from the primary unfoldment, and they're just like, oh, I want to go anywhere. It just doesn't matter. Just take me to the amusement park and get projected here on the sun. No, not anymore, because Sol is trying to qualify in the civilized express universe, and that is a different level of evolution in the consciousnesses that get manifested there. So it's really exciting. It's really exciting. I've said that so many times. Okay, let's go. Let's go on. The wheat on the 7th of October, the frequency of the apparatus. In the negative of the apparatus, we have 1811 from the right. We have that day. So many synchronicities. Because we are connecting from day 118 from the year of death of Siddhartha Gautama to the 7th of October. So, and we find this in the apparatus, and we find the code in the LGC calendar of Nepal. Okay. We are finishing the 13th year. And 13 is related to the 13 spaces in the last 13 days of the year, right? The Ring of Fire. And she's saying that in this synchronicity, the unified field is being included. Because when we began with the instruction, and you guys are going to be able to see this perfectly, the fourth cardinality was completely excluded. Like, for me personally, I feel like I was completely excluded from there for 8 years. And this year I was reinserted. Like, very, very abruptly. I didn't know I was ready, but apparently it was. So it is as if in my own personal octave, the unified field is being included, and I'm being able to be reinserted in there. So she's saying, we're going to be able to do solar sociology, not social sociology. Solar sociology. Why? Because LGC now has a history. We're going to be able to go through that history and explain it to others in the way that they understand and know knowledge or conocimiento in the third dimension, right? Not the way we understand conocimiento. Conocimiento for us is conocimiento. It's always in ri. But the way in the third dimension understands conocimiento is in ro. Well, we're going to be able to transfer LGC in that form of knowledge as well from now on. Yeah, I know. That's so cool, huh? So that's where she says solar sociology. We're going to be able to explain to ourselves everything according to the solar code and its own steps of evolution. We're going to be able to explain to ourselves and others what happened to us, like the history of the history of the solar evolution. Exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a little break because I need to go pee. I'll be right back. Okay. Here. Okay, so she's saying that the moment to translate all of this into the personal development has arrived. Yep, because she said that. But she said Alice's personal development arrived at the end when a lot of people, that's where they begin. Most people begin in the you know, personal self-help and all of that. But in our case, that's like the last thing that we did, because the solar development is going to take me away from society.
Yeah, that is what
I
I found also. I like I'm more in my house than with others. I think, why should I go? I'm better here.
Mhm,
And it's not
mhm.
normal for me.
Yeah. And that is when you are developing yourself solarly. But there's gonna come a time, because we do share a unified field in a collective space. And that is the place where, remember the relationship between 87 and 118, how the demands of the context
Yeah.
give me a certain response capacity, and the challenges, and you know, the nacido and the nativo and all of
Yeah.
that. Of course, if I'm with myself, it's
Yeah.
me equals perfect.
Yeah, true.
So, but when I am developing myself solarly, it is because I'm picking up a signal of instruction that belongs to the universe, not the universities, right? Because it is the universe that is educating us. Okay, so the lab 7 of others, next lab 18 is the lab 7 of others. So the question is, how am I going to construct a social octave if I don't include the value of the other person? The value of the other person, right? The octave is going to be lab 19, because that is the 8th lab of the others. So, but I do need to include the value of the others, because that is going, remember, the quality of the solar code depends on the quality of our interactions of the content. That is what that is what Sol is trying to improve, the quality of our interactions, because the main issue here is our interactions.
Yeah.
So it is not 22 laps just for myself. No, that's why we have 11 laps for me, 11 laps for the other, because we share a unified field. This was really interesting, and I've been on just reasoning this a lot, how what's going to be a value for me might be an anti-value for the other.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
it is the earth that is supporting that. I'm not in charge of supporting that. It is the earth. So if someone has an anti-value that I can't support, I simply take my distance, right? Because each person is going to be in their own algorithm, and they're going to prioritize their own balance. And the regulations are going to be provided by the frame itself. That is the thing, like not trying to force anything, or like, I don't know, when I have a certain acquaintance or a friend or whatever, there's an anti-value there. Okay, well, it's not going to work out. Just take my step back, and the earth is big, and you know, we can all live in it. And I'm not the earth, of course, so I can separate myself there and allow the other person to keep their own balance. So Alice says what is coming is really, really nice, really interesting, and really interesting to just like the expectation of the grade of elegance or absence of elegance that the code will have. And the importance of reducing the symbolic scale. Because if the symbolic scale is not reduced, then there is not going to be enough elegance when the code is executed. So if that happens, there's no people, the planet is going to research beautifully, but there's not going to be any people in it. So for humans to be included, we have to assume our regulation factor. And that's where she starts to talk about how we are responsible for the balance. If we can break a balance in a cycle, an animal cycle, etc., if we can do that, then we are responsible for keeping it. and
Mm.
how we are not able to see. I am able to see, but most people know that the mineral, the animal, and the plant realm contain and support the human economy. So we shouldn't be disturbing the economies that allow our economies to our human economy to exist. It's crazy. Oh my God. I saw a man in the house and it was just the guy from the water. I got scared. Okay, so that's where Ali gives that example and all. So humans do have a plus of access, right? More than the animals, because dogs, cats, elephants, they can't break cycles. They don't have that access. We do, because we have subatomic access. We have that potential to define our particular, we have the potential to define ourselves particularly. Sí, no, pásale, todo bien. Gusto de verlo. Hold on. I'm in my underwear. Oh no, somebody else is gonna see this recording. Okay. Sorry. So we do have an extra plus of access and we have an extra responsibility because of that, of course. Then she starts to talk about quarantine 121, which is equilibrio in Spanish, balance, equilibrium. And she's saying that this quarantine has provided us with global indicators of this sprout, this spring sprout, and it has to do with Gen Z, apparatus 500s, and what happened in Nepal. So this is just like gives a lot of hope, I think, right? That things are gonna go quite well, hopefully. Okay, another interesting concept that she has been developing lately is this concept of judgment of state and judgment of value. Did you guys pick that up or not?
Yeah, but that was I had made notes on that. That is a bit difficult for me yet.
Mm-hmm.
For me also to
I have a bit.
Yeah, okay. For me, it makes sense, but I'm gonna try to explain it, see if if it clarifies it. Okay, so judgment of state has to do with the lack of interpretation of the flow of signals. It is just the state, like the state of my processor in according to the flow of signals. So it has to do with like all the flow of signals, the antenna, the upper part, the pre-processing of signals. When we assign a value to that signal, we are tying it to the fourth cardinality. That interpretation. So that's why she says, okay, let's read it again. Hold on. Because the judgment of value, it's going to crystallize me. Yeah, it's going to crystallize the signal. But the judgment of state is going to regulate. It's going to regulate because it's a pre-processing of the signal. When I am in the state I am in, it is a state I am in. The state of the flow of signals and the state of my processor. But if that state, I can't handle it, I'm going to crystallize it with a value. Nomás traigo 500. ¿Traes 100? Sí, le transfiero. Te voy a dejar. Sí. ¿Qué? No. Si traes dinero o quieres más. Pues sí. Pues toma. Sí. Whisky. Y la llave de la troca ya. Ok. La llave. Yo creo ya nada más. ¿Ya no vienes o qué? Pues Valentín viene hasta las 3. Ah, bueno, entonces la bomba ahorita la ponemos. Vengo antes de las 3. Sí. Okay. Zagreb. Nos vemos. Los 500 de... ¿Ves esto bonito? Ahí se va. ¿Qué es el filtro? Ah, qué bueno. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So the state of my processor, the state of the flow of signals is going to regulate. It's going to tend to regulation. But if I assign a value, it's going to crystallize it. Of course, we need both, but we need to know for what and for where and how and everything, because we are regulating it with our consciousness, right? That's when we have an active architect that is dealing with these different instances. And it's not happening automatically. It's not like the unified field is not doing it for me. Because if I don't have any of this infrastructure, it is the unified field that's going to do it, all of these things for me. Like I'm going to be receiving all these signals. They're going to go through the stereotypes, like the predetermined routes. And my interpretations are going to be, are like, they're going to be filtered through there, through the stereotypes. But I'm not going to have a say in any of that because my architect is not awake, is sleepy. So judgment of state nourishes my antenna. Judgment of value is going to crystallize. We need to know what we need each function for. Like, what do I need it for? Sometimes I do need to assign a value when I have to take a position into a specific situation inside the unified field, right? I need to take my position when I am inserted in the unified field. But when I am not using the fourth cardinality, then I don't need that because I don't need it. It's just my body, my mind, and my consciousness. So I'm not needing the judgment of state. It is like a previous instance before I assign the value. So I don't do that automatically, or it's not done automatically for me. Yeah, does that make more sense?
Yeah, more sense, yeah. For me.
Yeah. Ninka, is it better?
Nienke went to the toilet.
Okay.
I don't know, I don't know.
No, she's driving.
Ah, she's driving.
Oh, yeah.
Do you hear me or not? Oh,
Okay,
Yes.
we can hear you now.
oh yeah, sorry. Yes, I'm driving. So sometimes
Yeah.
my noise off because of the noise here in the car. Yes, it's more clear. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's really important. And she's been explaining this in other ways, but she just like recently assigned this specific concept. Okay, so then she goes on saying that stereotypes are going to lose force because the infrastructure that comes down now are the architectures of the 500 apparatuses, which are the architects, the very own architects of the universe. Oh, sorry, my mom is the most chaotic person in the world. She's so chaotic. Oh, she wants me to close. Hold on. Okay. See. Sorry. The architects of the universe, she's saying. So they are not going to care about the history, the past, or the archetypes, of course. They're not going to care about any of that. Clearly. So these architects of the universe are going to come in little packages of babies, teenagers, young people. We can see that. And they are arriving from an infrastructure where the future reconverts and transforms the past with new meanings, new perspectives. So honestly, I'm sure Ninka sees this with her children all the time, and I see this with the kids. And I'm very amazed and so happy because I don't know, some children just coming out from very chaotic families or just very unstable or just sad situations, and the kids are so good. The kids are good kids and smart, and they know what they want, and they have everything, like it's clear, everything is clear for them. And when I see that, I just get really happy because there's nothing that we have to do because that's just how they're born. We have been
Yeah.
preparing, right? In the antimatter and in the code and in the ionosphere and all of that. Yeah, of course we have been working there. So when they I don't know, this year that I'm seeing all these young people and I'm just like so amazed by their clarity and their intelligence. So I really I can see it personally. So another thing that's really important is that as time goes by, we're going to be more familiar with this coming and going of matter and antimatter. And that our main identity should be in the antimatter. Like our main identity should be primordially in the antimatter and secondarily in matter. Our material identity should be secondary. And because my material identity comes to be secondary, it does not depend on the stereotypes, right? Because I have a primary identity that is anti-material, because antimatter is where matter gets constructed. So I do not need stereotypes because I'm going to be working with a structure to construct those stereotypes. And yes, of course, I'm going to, like, if I want, I can use the stereotypes, but I am not depending on them. Because like, I don't know if you guys have noticed that sometimes you have to use the stereotypes to interact socially. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
necessary, like the culture, whatever. Yeah. But it's not the same thing to use the stereotype to transfer the solar consciousness or to transfer something in the communication than to be dependent on the stereotypes. It's completely different, right? But we can do that if we have constructed an anti-material identity in the first place, and if that identity is my primordial identity. Here she says, the unified field is going to have a tendency to regulate. That is why the occurrences of the contents will have a tendency to be convergent, when before they had a tendency to be divergent. So this is amazing. This is great. Why? Because I think this is mainly a lot had to do with the situation with the gold standard, right? The gold standard has to do with the human economy. The human economy has to do with our transactions and our interactions. And this was completely deregulated. And we have seen how the situation with the gold standard has been updated. And we have been working with it so much. And now this year I think we can slowly start to see that the interactions are going to have a tendency to be a little bit more convergent, slowly. Let's not get high on our expectations. I think that what has been showing so far is, I think it's great sign, it's great news. And I mean, it's just the beginning of the apparatus. So probably we're going to see a lot more of these situations in the next 3 years. So the occurrences of all the little humans that are inside the unified field, we're going to start converging a little bit more, and we're talking about the civil range. But we should give them space and time because we are talking about the architects of the universe. So here she talks about that, what Gaby asked, right? The third dimensional vehicle needs a unit of memory. That's where we're talking about that pre-programmed future, where it's going to be it has to do with the container, then the future needs to be pre-programmed. But it is not something that is crystallized, because if there are active solar consciousnesses in that unified field, then that destiny can be modified and updated, right? It is just predetermined because it's something that's necessary to provide support to the third dimension, because we know that the third dimension is something that's made up by other dimensions. So it's like a requirement for it to be able to exist. Before, in the past, the pre-established scripts were the only thing that we had available. Like that was it. And now those things are an option, but it's not the only thing. Okay, psychic structure. When we're talking about psychic structure, we're talking about magma and ionosphere. And to that we call framework contract. But if the personal range only cares about the contents, of course, it's not going to be able to see anything else. It's only going to care about the contents of its personal area. So what's going to happen there? The destination of that specific occurrence is going to be traced by the content. That's it. So here she talks about the human economy and the other economies. I'm not seeing the rest of the economies, right? Here she says the memory of the container means the collective memory is pre-recorded, right? Okay. What was your question about Peru, Nika? What was it?
Is that I don't know the specific situation. Like what
Mm.
exactly happened that also made you have the feeling like, whoa, this is really great, that you could really see that this is something new, that people really do that.
Yeah, okay, so Alejandra bought a vehicle in Peru 8 years ago. And she bought that car as a species of patch, like she calls it parche. Remember parche, like the same way she went to Madagascar to ask for an 8-year credit. And then when that 8-year credit patch was over, the war on Ukraine burst. Something like that similar happened with the car, with the Subaru car. She bought that car for a purpose similar to that. And when the 8 years went by, she went back to Peru, and because she thought that was the reason she needed to go back to Peru. But she was in Peru for like 54 days, I think specifically. Exactly 54 days. And what she learned in Peru was that thing she talked about, the judicial order and the legitimate order. Remember? Barra tal, barra cual. So she was like, yeah, I thought that I only had to go and sell the car. But Peru showed her so many other things, and that's why she talked, the situation about Alcides Carrión, the situation about María Elena Moyano, María Elena Moyano, and then Darío Moyano. It's like so many things that are related to that. Darío Moyano is Alejandra's ex-partner, remember? And then the relationship between him and María Elena Moyano. María Elena Moyano was this like civil activist, human rights activist, and she was killed very brutally by the people that she trusted. And what we learned about her is how to get permeability at a personal scale, which is something that Alejandra didn't have, and that's why she was so dependent on Darío and all of these situations. But then on top of that, the situation of the judicial order that has to do with the collective field, because we need regulations in the collective field. But the legitimate order does not need those regulations because it is me with me. It's barra tal, it's 951. Right? It is the intention of the administration of the receiver. But when we're talking about the barra cual, we're talking about these regulations, this judicial order that we need to all be able to interact with each other in the collective field. So that is what Peru taught Alejandra this year. Yeah, is that a little better?
Yes, and but the situation, yeah, that was good to hear. And the situation with the students, what happened in that 48 hours? Did I misremember it, that was also in Peru, or was it?
No, that was Nepal.
Oh, Nepal. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that in
Sorry.
48 hours they had the revolution and then they cleaned everything up.
Yeah, but what kind of revolution was that?
So there was so much corruption. And what happened was that the government of Nepal wanted to remove or like ban, block certain social media. The Nepalese government wanted to block certain social media content or access to the young people. So that's where they drew the line. They were like, no, you're not gonna censor us. So they burned the parliament. They went out and burned the parliament. And it was like a civil war. They overthrew the president. They overthrew the government. And then they made a poll, like they had elections, virtual elections, to choose who was gonna support the country in this transition, and they chose a woman, a woman that worked in the Ministry of Anti-Corruption, something like that. So, and a lot of things have been happening. And they are going after the politicians, they are burning their houses. Yeah, and it's all the young people.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that is really
Yeah.
great. Yes.
It's so great. It's so
Yeah, yeah,
great.
yeah.
I can show you, I can send you some videos if I find about this whole situation because it's really, really interesting. So,
Great, thank you.
yeah. So that is like all for the text. I think we went a little bit through it again. And do you guys have any other questions or observations or anything? No?
No, for me it's okay now. Thank you.
Yes, I'm really happy with all the extra explanations. Thank you for
Yeah.
this. Yes.
Yeah, it's really great to be here with you guys. I've been so I don't know how to say it, like just my life has changed a lot this year and I can't seem to stop it. It is as if the machine is on and I can't stop it. And I don't want to stop it because it's cool. It's really cool. It's really great. And I'm excited. A lot of
It's good to hear.
challenges. Yeah, a lot of challenges, like with people, mainly with myself, of course, like the first 11 laps, of course, with myself and then with others. And just I feel so happy because I feel the strength of providing support to the family. Oh, let me tell you something that Alice said, that she said it in the group, and I thought that it was really cool. And it has to do with the species, the range of the species and the range of the clan. So when we're talking about a strong signal, I don't know if you guys remember that Ale has spoken about strong signal and weak signal. The species tends to have a strong signal in the sense where, because in the species, there is not like no protection of the weak. In the species is like the strong that prevail, right? And the strong are the leaders and the ones that can face the entorno, the challenges of the entorno. Okay. But when we're talking about the clan, in the clan, we do want to protect the weak. So once I feel strong enough in, like, if I am able to stand in the space of the species, right? If I feel strong to face the entorno and the challenges of the entorno, then I can protect the weak in my clan.
Ah,
So the clan has that variable, that it does have that extra of protecting the weak, when in the species that doesn't happen. It's only the strong. So in my, like when she said that, it really fit in because I feel that way. I feel I've always had this like conviction of supporting others, always since I can remember. But now, after this formation of LGC and after all of this that has happened, now I can do it a lot better, like a lot better. So I don't know, I've always done social work. Like I've always helped people doing whatever they like, whatever. And now I'm finishing the law degree that can provide me with the credentials that I need to have authority according to the judicial order, right? In the collective field, that it's going to give me the credentials to have that authority that I legitimately have. But I do need to have them in the collective field. But anyway, it's just so synchronic, and I'm happy about that, because I've had several situations where I felt like nobody raises their voices, nobody sets boundaries, and I do. And then when I do it, others want to do it. Like they feel like they can do it. It is like I just opened the door. And they realize that they can do it too. So I think that probably something like that happened in Nepal. Like there was an activation, right? And people started to be like, yeah. I mean, it's time. But with like my family or just people that need my help, I feel like I can do it now.
Cool.
So it's really nice.
Nice to hear that.
I don't know where it's gonna end. Yes. Yeah. So I'm not only providing support at a solar scale, I'm also providing support socially now.
That this year only, that before it was not, eh?
It was, but not as clear as it is for me now.
Ah,
Like for me,
okay.
this year has become so much more clear and so much more predominant, because my support and my development was completely solar for 8 years. And after 8
Yeah.
years, exactly after 8 years,
Oh, wow.
exactly.
Wow.
So synchronic. That's why like sometimes I just can't believe it, because it's so synchronic. And with the whole situation with the trees in Costa Rica, it was like, you know, life throwing me into that other scale very abruptly. And it was me and Francisco specifically, because for my mom, it's happening, but more slowly, like more softly. For me, it wasn't like that. For me, it was like throwing me off a cliff. That's how it felt. Like, you're
Is
ready,
your mom
fly.
also is your mom also 8 years now in the logic of slaughter?
Yeah, we all began together. Francisco and my
Ah,
mom and me. Yeah.
wow.
And same thing with Francisco, like very abruptly and very like
Suddenly, puff.
suddenly.
Yeah.
Very suddenly. But of course we felt ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was it after the event or also before?
It all happened before the event.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I arrived to the event, I was beginning to get stabilized, but I wasn't stable.
Oh,
No, I wasn't stable. And right now, I don't feel fully stable yet. Like, I feel like I am learning to navigate this whole update. But from May to June, it was hell. Complete hell. At a personal level, mainly. And then after the event, things started to improve. Yeah, started to balance out. Yeah, it did improve, definitely. Yeah. So this year, oh my God, this year is for the records, really, in my personal life. It's just so much, so much. I could write a book. Yeah.
And
a
did you
saga.
go to the other event too?
I'm going in November.
7-3, but not 7-2, eh?
7-3. No, not 7-2. I think 72
Cool.
was a little bit of a repetition of 71. A little bit. I mean, it had new
Yeah.
stuff, of course, as it usually is, but it was a little bit the same structure.
Nice.
So really great to see you, really great to be here. Well, everything that I said was because of that my life has changed a lot, but this is something that I really want to continue doing and I really love it. And so I'm really happy to be here and that you guys
Mm.
are still here
And,
and that
and still
you
in the
two are
lab, huh?
always there. Huh?
Still in the lab. Still in the last day of the lab.
What do you mean?
Of this, the recording from the lab is from lab 17.
Oh, yes, lab 17. Yes.
We are still in the lab on time.
Oh, yes. We
Yeah.
are on the last day of lab
Yeah,
17.
on the last day, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So tomorrow we'll probably have the next program and
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see how it goes for next
Cool.
lab.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay. You're welcome, you guys. I'll see you soon then.
Thank you. Really great.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Okay, see you soon. Bye.
See you soon. Bye.